You're listening to More Sunsets Please, Episode 1.
We almost doubled what I made in a month, which was insane, just by applying those simple strategies. And so then January, we were like, hey, cool. He quit and just straight up like, no, I want to work for myself and we're going to do this because look how much you're making. I was up to 30,000 followers and it was doing great. We had so much opportunities, all these campaigns lined up, and then my account gets hacked, deleted, gone.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live debt-free, sell it all, live small, travel the country full-time, or raising animals and growing your own food as a sustainable family? My name is Kate, and these are just a few of the stories of those who have flipped the script and changed their lives. Welcome to your Freedom Podcast, sharing those who have broken free of the mold, living outside of the box, and living life on their terms. This is More Sunsets Please. Welcome, Janessa, to the More Sunsets Please podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. Really excited to be here.
Awesome. So we're here to share some stories and inspire some people. So can we start with, where are you located? Where are you right now?
Yeah, so right now we are in Middleburg, Florida, and really cool fun fact, like everyone knows that St. Augustine is like the very first, like oldest like settlement in the US, but Middleburg is actually the second oldest like city, like town in the US.
Really?
A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that until I lived here and did some history research. So fun fact.
I did not know that either. Wow. Okay. So Middleburg. Now let's back up for a minute to go through your story. Just do like a great big broad brushstroke of your story and how you got to where you are now.
Okay, so I will take it way back. So I'm originally from Hawaii. I was born and raised there my whole entire life. And growing up, I've always been surrounded by creative people. And I mean like really talented, creative people. Either they're sponsored in skating or surfing, or they were photographers or videographers for weddings, or working with brands like Roxy and all those other big brands and whatnot. So I've always been surrounded by very talented people. My very first camera that I got, I was 20, and Jamie gifted me with a Canon T2i, which was part of their Rebel series. And I was so stoked. I was like, yes, look at me, I'm like doing it. But I always felt honestly like, and that was my own security, is that I felt like very overshadowed because I was surrounded by all of these super talented, creative people that I was like, what good am I going to do? Like, what difference can I, like, I'm not as good as them, you know? So that was my own insecurity. And that kind of held me back. One of my friends gifted me a 50 millimeter lens and was just like, I never use it. You can have it. And I was like, oh, I was so excited. And so I would take my camera everywhere. I would take it on hikes. We would just go with friends. We used to always go to rock shows. So I was taking my camera everywhere, but I never really posted anything. I never really went in that direction. It wasn't until we moved off of the island in 2015, we moved to Washington State. And because Jamie was able to transfer, he was working at the shipyard at the time, not military. He was in QA and stuff. And so we were there, and I was like, oh, I felt a sense of like freedom, like, oh, I can finally be creative the way that I want to be. I had already started probably the last year of living in Hawaii. I started like a Etsy shop, you know, I did like essential oils and stuff. And I got into taking my own product photography because I was like, well, I need photos and I have to learn how to do it. So I just kind of taught myself everything. So I started doing that, and I had a goal. I was like, hey, every single month I need to at least reach like $200 to $300. And I had my Instagram page, I had my Etsy, and I was doing photography for it and everything like that. And then I started, because I was more on social media. That was probably like 2016. I was getting more into it, and I was like, how come I see all these like influencers working with brands? And I was like, I totally wanted to get in that direction, but I didn't know how. And I would ask them, even on my personal page, I had a personal one besides my little small Etsy business. Janessa was my Instagram handle. I would ask all of these big influencers, like, how'd you guys get into it? How do you get started? And it felt like no one gave me like answers, because everyone was kind of like, well, if I tell you, then you're going to want to do it, kind of a attitude and responses that I got. Or they would say, oh, you can buy my course for this. And I was like, I just wanted a quick, like, how do you get started on it? No one would tell me. So I was like, all right, I'm going to Google that too, since that's all I ever did. So I literally Googled and I got into Amazon reviews, and 3 months into doing Amazon reviews, because I just wanted free product. Literally, that's all I ever wanted. It's like, this would be fun. I just want free stuff and let's get going. And 3 months into it, then brands started to message me like, hey, we'd love to send you this product. And these were like really good brands that I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like, do you have like a media kit or something? I was like, what's a media kit? Then I had to Google that. I had to go and Google that. I was like, oh my gosh. So here I am Googling, just kind of winging it, figuring it out. And then organically, my audience started to build because of my photography and how I would always show up in stories and whatnot. And I was just like, okay, my first year I got accepted onto Trend. That was like my very first influencer platform to apply for campaigns. So that's how long I've been with Trend, like forever. And so then, but at the time when I first started, I was getting paid like $25 like a post.
But I bet that felt amazing.
Oh, it felt amazing for sure. I was like, $25. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I remember telling Jamie, I was like, if I did 20 of these, like I could get paid like almost close to $500. Like what if I did that every single month? And to me, it was a numbers game. You know, I was like, hey, if I can make this much, how much can I get? So that's what I was going. And then that first year, I landed my very first big campaign with Minute Maid, and it was for a Mother's Day campaign. And this was on Popular Pays, which is an app, another influencer platform app. And that was the biggest one I ever got paid, was like $1,500 to do this like 15-second video of just talking about what motherhood meant to me while I had the Minute Maid in the shop.
Wow.
And that was just from my phone. It wasn't even any fancy camera equipment. And I was like, I told Jamie after I got paid and everything, I was like, you don't even like, that's what they wanted in exchange. And I was like I can actually make something out of it. Before it was just very like hobby-like. And that's when I was just like, hey, it's on, you know, I'm going to keep learning. But when I had my account, I was very influencer mindset, meaning I had to grow, and I needed engagement. And so I was really stuck in that type of mindset doing it. Fast forward 3 years, 3 years down the line. It was October of 2021. We all got COVID, right? We're great. We have COVID, fantastic. And Jamie was home and he was just like, well, we're just here sick. Like, what can I do to like help, you know, like, cause he always gave me income goals. For that first year, I was already making close to what he was making working when he was working here. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, well, I need help with this and this and this. And he came up, he's very structured, right? So I'm very visionary and he's very integrator. So he's very organized and detailed and no, we need to have this structure. And within the first 2 months of us, just like him staying home because we were like sick for so long, we almost doubled what I made in a month, which was insane. Just by applying those simple strategies, we like doubled it. And so I was like, that's it. Like, quit your job, like help me, like do this. And imagine like what we can get done. And he already had a 5-year plan of like, I don't want to stay at this job anymore. He's like, I'm over it, you know, whatever. And so then January, we were like, hey, cool. He quit and just straight up like, nope, I want to work for myself and we're going to do this because it, you know, look how much you're making. I was up to 30,000 followers and it was doing great. We had so much opportunities, like all these campaigns lined up. And then my account gets hacked, deleted, gone. It was like almost overnight. We came back from a Christmas, I think it was New Year's Eve party. And I came back and I was like, I can't sign into my account. I got kicked out. And he goes, why? And I said, well, in my message on my Instagram, it said that I was being flagged for copyright infringement, but I used Instagram's music. And he goes, you didn't click the link, did you? And I was like, I did.
Oh no.
I totally clicked the link. The naive part of me. I was thinking, yeah, this is fine. Click the link before I was even able to say, no, that's not me, because Instagram was like, was that you? It deleted, it just like disappeared before I could even say, no, that's not me, because it said Istanbul, Turkey. And then I got an email from the hacker saying, hey, it's your hacker. If you want your account, Janessa, back, message me at WhatsApp at this, and you have to pay me like $1,500. I was like, I don't negotiate with terrorists. I'm like, I don't do this. So it was a very depressing 2 weeks, because I was like, you literally just quit your job. We were doing great, and we lost our means of income. What are we going to do? So I said, okay, we sat down and kind of prayed about it. And we're like, whatever we were doing, like we started getting into content creating, and we started coming into the realization that we don't have to keep creating content to post on our feed. We don't need to do it that way. We changed our mindset. We changed the strategies and said, look, I'm going to reach out to the brands that we built relationships with. And I reached out to 6 of them. 3 of them got back and said, we don't care. And note that We Are the Marcos account only had like 1,000 followers. And these are like really big brands that we talked to. They got back to us and said, we don't care what your followers are. We love you guys for your content. And that was like the light bulb, like, like we can actually do this without a huge following. And we just stuck to it. We were still on platforms. We just learned to pitch differently. And we really learned to harness like those relationships. And that's really what just drove our account. And I mean, yeah, we only have like maybe 17,000 now, but that was just a year. It's been a year, and we've already like surpassed our yearly income, what we thought we possibly could. Which was insane. And we only started doing our coaching calls in May, and I never thought that that was possible either. But so many people were messaging us like, oh, you guys need to do like coaching, because you guys are so good at like talking about stuff, because we would always go on our lives and talk about content. And I love talking about content. That's my thing. I'm a very like, anytime we talk to our clients, I'm the one that comes on and I'm like your cheerleader, and I get to know them personally. I mean, everyone who messaged me, I just talk story.
You do. I love it.
Like about everything. And then when we do our coaching calls, when it's ready to talk about like business, I'm like, all right, well, here's Jamie. He's the type is like, look, you're not going to want to hear a lot of things that I'm going to say or tell you, but it's stuff that you need to hear in order to grow. And he gets it done, and people are like, oh my gosh. And I'm just like, see, this is why we talk.
This is why we're a good pair.
Yeah, exactly. So really long story, but that's kind of like how we got into it.
Yeah. Now you messaged Jamie, obviously, several times through this. Who all is involved in We Are the Marcos?
So there's me, there's my husband, Jamie, and then we have 2 kids. Audrey is 8, gonna be 9, oh my gosh, in March. And then we have Levi, he's 4, and he will be 5 in April. So
he's only 4.
Yeah, he's only 4. I know, that kid.
He is a rock star. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. You know, it's really funny. Like, we ask the kids all the time what they want to be when they grow up. And because we really are heavy on the entrepreneurship, Audrey wants to own her delivery business. And then you have Levi, who's here, and he's super into BMX biking and dirt biking and quads. And he's just like, I want to be sponsored by Red Bull. Like, what 4-year-old says? 4-year-old says he wants to be sponsored by Red Bull. I'm like, good on you, buddy.
Yeah, but you guys are fantastic examples of that this is how you can grow. This is how you can live outside of the stock standard box. And then even have what felt like everything ripped away and still go, no, we got this, which is absolutely amazing.
And it's, you know, whenever you are in that situation where the world seems to be going like totally against you, I think in that situation, we were really driven by, and this is what I tell everyone, I was like, our desperation to want to get out from where we were is what drove us so hard to get us inspired to get us on that road.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that desperation inspired us.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be in a very uncomfortable situation to grow, you know?
Yep. Yep. I'm sure I can't think of the quote right now, but there are so many quotes that say you have to go through the hard.
Yes.
You're so wanting it so much to actually make it happen, to just do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So at what point along this whole journey did you hit that point that you felt, yes, we are totally on the right path. This is where we're meant to be. We're going to just keep going.
You know, that is a great question because I've had so many moments, even from the beginning of last year, that I was like, are we even doing the right thing? You know, so many times of like doubting yourself.
Yeah.
I think I can finally say that it took probably the end of this year to honestly look at myself and be like, yes, like I know it took us that long, but I'm super confident and comfortable with who I am and the stuff that we can create, that I think I finally got into, being proud of myself. And that has a lot to do with like family drama that I dealt with too as well. But it's finally being free from what anyone else says and what anyone else has expectations for. And it's your personal expectation for yourself. And you should be proud of that. And I'm like beyond like proud to be where we're at right now. And so I'm now's the time I'm like, this is it. Like, and this year's going to be amazing. And I know it. And I just know it. It's not going to be easy.
Sure. It never is.
Because I have crazy goals of doubling what we made. And I just have really, really big goals for the people that we work with as well, you know, so.
Now, of course, Jamie's probably outlined all how we need to get those goals.
Oh, yes.
You set the bar and then he's like,
yeah.
This is how we
He's
do
very,
it.
very organized. I'm extremely scatterbrained. I have ideas off like all over the place. And he's like, okay, let's focus on one and then we'll continue on. I'm like, okay, got it.
I'm here for it. So it took a long time to get to that point of we made it. We're on the right path. We're good.
Yeah. And I think it's always different because everyone's path, you know, when they look at success, everyone's way of looking at success or feeling like, okay, this is it is always going to look different. Some may get it like right away. Maybe for Jamie, he felt it earlier. I don't know. He's not here right now, but I think definitely for me it was at the end of the year, seeing what we made all of last year and seeing that and being like, that's unreal. Like, I think I'm still amazed that we even were able to surpass what we thought we were going to make. And it just was totally past that. And I still am like in awe right now. It's
just like,
yes. Yeah. I mean, I really have no words for it except for, yes, I finally feel comfortable that we are on the right path of what we're supposed to be doing. So
that's so good. So you did touch a bit on some of the challenges that you had. What about some of the fears on top of that? So you mentioned being, nervous about the competition, that you didn't hold up. What are some other fears that you hit along the way that you thought would hold you back? And then now you can look back and go, oh, no, those were milestones that I needed to overcome to get here.
Yeah, definitely. My biggest fear was learning how to do things the right way, like understanding my camera more, really understanding, what certain brands wanted when it comes to like content. Yeah. I'm very, very stubborn. And sometimes I will admit that I think I know everything or I can just wing it. I'm a very optimistic person. Like that's just, I'm like, it'll be fine. I'll figure it out, but then it comes down to it and I stress myself out. And then it's that fear of, imposter syndrome coming into play, thinking, no, like, what are you doing? Or the comparison game of looking at all these people's amazing content and being like, I wish I could do that, but I'm not doing that, And so what got me to snap out of it was a lot of learning. And like, I really had to dive in. Like, I did a lot of reading. I listened to so many podcasts throughout this entire year, everything from like mindset to service. Totally changing that gave me a new perspective that just because these people have amazing content that's not like mine, they're at a different part of life than me. It doesn't mean that I can't get there. And that was one thing that I had to change for myself too, instead of saying I can't do that. Because that was my biggest saying, right? I can't do that.
Yeah. And so many say that.
I don't have time. Like, I'm busy. I had to get that. I stopped making excuses. And that's what I was doing, with making excuses all the time.
Yes. And that busy one comes up for everybody. I'm busy. I'm too busy.
Yeah. Oh, the kids, like, stop using them as an excuse. Like, it's really easy to use your kids as an excuse when you want to do something for yourself, because you feel guilty as a parent. Like, I'm not giving them enough time, but that's not the case.
Yeah. And so many will use their kids for the same thing, just for an excuse. Should they try this and fail, then they wasted that time that they should have spent with their kids, which,
yes.
No. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, that's it. Just go for it. And sometimes you're not going to have everything lined up, and you just have to take that leap of faith. And that was probably another thing, is being scared to actually put yourself in I don't know, because when it comes to entrepreneurship in general, you're not like working for a company. You're not getting that steady paycheck. You don't know how much you're going to make. I cannot go and be like, oh, I'm definitely good. This is how much I make, like you're not going to get that. So you have to be really creative. You have to really jump out, like, just do it. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it.
Right. It's probably why it's such a big slogan.
Right.
Now, changes set the tone for your future, and so many of them are pivotal. At what big change was the one that went, whoop, this is where we are?
Wow, you got some good questions. Like some really deep thought questions.
Because I know these are ones for me that along the way I'm like, there's this hurdle that I'm hitting, and I'm too scared to move forward. But those hurdles are typically the ones that changed you and changed the past, changed the direction to go just flying forward.
Definitely losing everything to start over.
That's a big one.
Yes. When you had everything, well, not everything, but when you had that and you completely lose it and you like flatline and have to start over. And once you get over that hump and you actually get started in doing it, and you get into the first month or the second month, and finally you start to see a little bit of growth, that's when you start really believing in yourself that this is actually going to happen. And you start really looking like consistency. If I stay consistent, if I keep at it, even in the most hardest times, that good things are going to happen. And I truly, truly believe that. And I think so many people are really comfortable in their situation that when they get into a hard spot, or that it gets too hard, it's easy for them to just say, I'm doing all this work for nothing. Like, I'm over it already. It's like, it's that pivot point of getting started and just being right so close to finally seeing results is right at that breaking point where a lot of people just walk away. And I think the biggest example, if you don't mind me just sharing a quick story, my husband and I really struggled with infertility. And I bring up this example because we struggled for like 4 years. We just couldn't get pregnant. And we went through over 14 rounds of IUIs. And I was on every single fertility treatment, from shots to pills to like everything, finding out that I had severe endometriosis, which I had to have surgery for. And then on top of that, at the end, we had to do IVF. That was like the final, this is your last thing. The day before we go in, our infertility doctor was like, look, you have 2 out of the 9 embryos that you've had, 2 are ready to go, but there's risks, meaning if you end up having twins, you could die because it could rupture. But that's a chance that we're willing to take. If you do one and that one doesn't stick, then, it was at that time when we were like, hey, Lord, it's all on you. We did everything that we possibly could. We tried to stay strong mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. And it was finally like we let go and let God take control. And sure enough, Audrey stuck. And so that's the story of Audrey. But I use that example because it was like we kept trying so hard to the final step of doing IVF. And there was no other way except to just say, it's all on you. And so the same goes with like every single thing that happened in our life. It's like we can take it so far until there's a time where you just say, all right, I did everything you can. You just have to have faith that it's going to work out. Levi's a whole nother story because he's the miracle child. And that was he was completely natural. And we tried like 3 years for him and that, yeah, it was pretty insane how that whole worked out, but.
That's incredible. And it's so true that we as people want to have the control of the entire situation.
Yes.
We feel like if we have control, we can make it happen. When it's so many times when we hit that point of just releasing and letting God just do what he needs to do, that's when everything flows in.
100%. And even if people, don't believe in God, you can only handle and control so much until life takes its own course. And you just have to have faith in knowing that it's going to work out and that all of your hard work was not for nothing, something's going to come of it. And that's like why I always share that story, because we've been through so many situations in our life where we were doing so good and then this horrible thing happens and you just got to keep pushing through it. And it's really interesting whenever I share it, because then I have like so much people who reach out and they're just like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even know you struggled with that. I was like, I know there's a lot.
We can't talk about everything all the time. It's so true. It's so true. There's so many things in our lives that we share, but there's so many things that we don't, because there's a lot going on. What has this life change done for your marriage?
For our marriage, it strengthened us. A lot of people are like, how do you like stay home and see each other every single day?
All day, every day, and work together.
He's my best friend. I've known him since I was 13. Yeah. And then we started dating when I was 16, and then we got engaged when I turned 18, and then got married when I was 19. So I was very, very young, and we've always kind of been in each other's lives. Yeah. So we made this last year. We've been married for 16 years.
Oh my goodness. Happy sweet 16.
Yeah. Insane. It was July. It was like, so my birthday is July 3rd and we got married on the 22nd. I think because we know each other so well inside and out, that when he decided to quit and actually take this on with me, I knew like his boundaries and I knew like how he does things. And even though like many times I just disregard a lot of that stuff and just annoy the heck out of him, we work really well as a team. And so we know that when we need space, we know when to give space. We know who's doing what, and the roles are very, very clear, right? So I do all of the homeschooling. He takes care of like all the finances and whatnot. And right now he's taking on his real estate business. And he's in real estate investing, and it's been a really hard journey for him too. And, just of that moment of feeling, I've been doing all this work, I'm doing all this calling and I don't see anything. And I was like, we've been there before. Don't let that get you down. And I'm there to support you. And even though right now it seems a little like we're on two different pages because I'm focusing on content, he's focusing on real estate, I know that this is just the time. And in life, you're going to have a really hard time, and you just have to you have to keep pushing forward, and there's got to be a balance. And right now we're figuring out that balance. But communication, I think for us, is what makes this like key of working together, because every single morning, I don't think we've ever skipped a morning of having coffee time. We wake up early, we have coffee together exactly at 7 o'clock, and we sit down and we talk about everything, our fears, our insecurities, what we're doing for the day, how the kids are, like we literally spill everything. And because of that, it's just like, we have no communication issue. Like really, I mean, we're not perfect by any means. And sometimes our communication is, I think I know what I'm saying or how he's feeling, and that's not really it. But as far as like us telling how we feel about certain things, there's no hiding. It's clear, whether it's a good situation or a bad situation, like we're very clear on communication. And I think that's really key in making time. And I think like right now, we don't really have sitters, you know, a lot of people are like, how do you guys make time for each other when you have kids that are with you all the time? I was like, you make time, you know, like we wake up earlier than the kids to have our coffee time. And even when the kids wake up, we tell them, you can go in mommy and daddy's room and watch some cartoons because we're still talking. And we put that priority. And because we show our kids that our mommy and daddy's relationship and our coffee time is really important to us, the kids respect that. And they know, okay, we're going to go and watch cartoons or movies or whatever for a little bit. And when they're done, they're going to come in and we can have breakfast together. And that's how it goes. And they see that as, this is important for mommy and daddy's relationship. And I really want our kids to see that as they grow up, you know, to put priority on the marriage, because without a really good, healthy marriage, the family falls apart. Yeah.
100%. I so agree with that. There's so many couples out there who will still put so much priority on their children and their time with their children and completely forget that the marriage completely has to come first.
Yes.
And then your relationship with your kids.
Absolutely. And that was even because that was even when the kids were babies, you know, like we would have sleepless nights, but it didn't really matter because that was like one of kind of like our sayings was like, sleep when you're dead. Like literally like it's insane that the amount of sleep that we did not get, but still prioritize time to have coffee time or moments to ourselves. It's like, it's so important and you can be exhausted. And that's why coffee and caffeine is like our best friend. So like sleep when you're dead. Don't even worry about it.
Nothing beats a good cup of coffee, right? It's with your spouse.
Yeah.
Through all these changes, through all the hurdles, through everything being ripped back and growing back again, how has all of this process impacted your family as a whole unit and individually the kids along the way?
Yeah, so the kids have been amazing. They've been through so much, especially Audrey. She was born in Hawaii and moved off island when she was a year and a half, and we would go back to visit maybe every couple of years or something like that. And she knew like she knew that's her home because of the pictures and the videos that we had. And then Levi was born in Washington State, but they transitioned so well. And the same goes with us doing our work. I think one of the biggest things now is we really from the very beginning of last year, we really put priority on getting the kids involved, explaining every single thing that we do as a family and why it benefits us. And so now like everyone is always asking like, how are your kids like when you guys shoot content or how do you get them involved? I'm like, oh, they know everything about our business. They know how much we're going to be getting paid for certain things because now Audrey's at the age where she asks. And anytime we get a box, she's like, okay, who is the brand that's sending us this? And what do they want? Like she's telling us like, do they want a video? Do they want photos? She goes, is it just product photography? Or are we doing like family? Do we need to be involved? Like she asks that when the UPS guy gives her this box and she goes, mommy, which brand is this from? And like, she's already in her head. She gives us suggestions. So that girl is already entrepreneur mindset. We've been teaching her about money and how to like invest and all this kind of stuff. So she's very, very creative and comes up with these really cool concepts. A lot of the stuff that we do shoot, and she's learning the camera. So there's some actually like photos that if me and Jamie can't do it like on our own, or the tripod's not working or something, Audrey would be like, I got this. Like, give me the camera. Just tell me what button to press. And she'll take it. And we're like, hey, it works. Like, it's so good. Levi is just free range. Like, I just call him free range. He is down for anything. If I tell him, look, I need you to ride your bike for this second, and we just got to film really quick and then we're done. He's like, all right, like, no big deal. Like, I got this. So they're totally involved. They love learning about like the brands and where it comes from and like what to do. I think as a family, we're definitely so much closer now. When we prioritize, like, normally Tuesdays are our adventure days, and the kids usually give us suggestions of where we can go. And that is like, and we, a lot of times we don't even take product, or we just shoot whenever or whatever, but it's mainly we're focusing on, this is your guys' day. What do you guys want to do? Yeah. And so they know too, whenever we do, because we do coaching calls as well, and we both got to be in here for that. And they are so awesome when it comes to us explaining, like, look, we need to go and talk for a little bit, and you guys need to be creative. They know as soon as we're done, all the attention's on them. And it really teaches them, one, patience. They know that, look, this isn't a normal family. Like, this is our work that we're doing. And the same goes with like our phones. When I'm out there, like, editing a video, Audrey will sit right by me and I'm showing her every single thing on my app, how I edit this video, how I edit this photo. And she knows, like, oh, mommy's not just on her phone, because that used to be the thing that they would say, are you just on your phone again? You're just on your phone. I said, no, I'm not just on my phone. I do a lot of my work from my phone. And once we really started getting them 100% involved in knowing this and that, it was like they just got it. Definitely helped our family as a whole, like, really get going with our businesses, because we do content creating, we do our coaching calls, and then Jamie does real estate investing. So really we have 3 businesses. And it just keeps growing more and more, and it's fine. I mean, the kids do so well with it. It's pretty awesome. So.
And then do you find you have more time for family time, since you guys are both free range workers?
I love it. Free range. Let's just do that.
Forget freelance, you're free range. You're just dabbling in all of it. Do you then get more family time? Do you get more flexibility with your family that is more beneficial versus what you were doing prior?
Absolutely. We definitely, as much as we take on, I think a lot of people get surprised that we even like have more family time than we ever did before. And that has to do with us just setting habits in place. We don't like schedules, like sticking to schedules, because we feel like schedules don't really do much, but it's healthy habits that we've developed that give us so much time. And like time blocking, right? It's like, okay, how long is it going to take me to accomplish this thing? This much time. Okay, I put that aside. As soon as it's done. And my day is free. And we have so much time that I'm like, we should be doing more with this time. But I also know that we're not like just a couple with no kids, and their needs need to be met too. And we definitely take that into priority, which is why, like, Audrey's in archery and the kids go to Awanas, and we get them into activities that they love. And that's just the thing. It's where I even though we are stationary adventurers, so I like to call ourselves, because we don't like travel full time or anything. We can if we wanted to, but for right now, we love road trips, and that's something that the kids always look forward to. So we try to fit in a road trip every couple months, to get them away and know, like, this is the reward for all of the hard work that you guys did. And we really praise them for it. We really praise them for being so creative with their time and being loving and respectful to each other. And just, that's how they're making this family work as well. And it's not just mommy and daddy doing all the work, like, they work so hard as well. And I think when you as a parent can acknowledge your kids for those simple things, oh man, you're breaking the chain for so many parenting stuff that's going on nowadays, that you're breaking that cycle of having your kids feel like they're so important. You actually listen to them.
Yeah, and give them so much positive feedback to grow. And you guys are definitely doing that by even just by setting the example of you can do this yourself completely, which is incredible. So you guys have had such a wonderful journey full of highs and lows. Let's touch on that a little bit. So we talked about fears, challenges, hurdles. What was the biggest high and what was the biggest low? Let's obviously start with the low and finish on a high note. But what was the biggest low through this?
Yeah. So the biggest low for me personally this year was definitely dealing with narcissistic parents. My parents, we are not talking anymore, and that was their personal decision. But that really does play a huge part in my life because I was very, very close to my parents. And unfortunately, they see things differently than I do. But once that I actually fully removed myself and accepted, like, okay, they walked away and that's fine. And then I started diving more into really what a narcissist is and what they do. It was almost like my parents checked off every single mark of the category. And my eyes started to be really opened up to being like, this whole time they made me feel guilty. I was manipulated in so many different ways. My mom, everything was a competition to her. She made me feel like what I was doing with content creating wasn't hard and it wasn't that big of a deal. She never really expressed that she was really proud of me for anything. And so a lot of like me having to push through, like, I can do this was constantly having my mom's like words in my ears of making me feel like I was not worthy of doing all this. And so the moment that I finally let go of that and got free, which is why I said in the very beginning, like, I'm so focused, not just like me, but I'm really, really proud of myself. I finally feel like myself because I got free from what anyone else ever said. And I actually believe in myself, and I'm proud of who I am as a mom, as a wife, as a content creator. I'm on fire because it's like a caterpillar coming in and a butterfly coming out. Like, I feel like a new person. I really, really do. And because I started sharing about that, more people started to open up, and it's really healing when I share these types of stories and people can come out and say that they felt the same way. It is the most freeing thing. But at the same time, when someone who has narcissistic parents and you realize that, you will never look at them the same way ever. And unfortunately, it's almost like a death, in the family. That's how it feels because the grief is hard. And that's definitely was my lowest point, was over Christmas break, because that was the very first Christmas without my parents at all. And it was really, really hard. I had so many days of just breaking down, feeling guilty that I did something when really I didn't. There was really nothing that I ever did. It's because I stood firm on what I believed was right. And they just saw things differently. And unfortunate as that is, I still love my parents so much. I'm not bitter at all. I need to focus now on what's good for us. And because I have that new focus and because I have this new confidence in myself and pride, that just things are going to be open. Doors are already opening, So at my lowest, I feel so much more free because of that. And that's just my personal thing. So that was definitely my low point of feeling like I lost my parents, because I kind of did.
Yeah. And it is a grieving process, 100%. And even though there's no physical death involved, it's the death of a relationship. And that's extremely challenging, extremely challenging. So let's finish on a high.
Yes.
Throughout this whole journey, you guys have had some pretty awesome successes, but what would you say is the biggest high?
The biggest high, I think, one, seeing the amount of our income that we made for this year. I kind of have a couple. So that's one little step of really, that's the proof of all of our hard work, right? At the end of the year, Jamie did our taxes and was just like, you know how much we made this year? I was like, are you kidding me? That was one of the biggest things. But besides that, it would have to be that we barely had to pitch a lot this year, and that there were a good handful of brands that came back over and over and over, just wanting to work with us. To me, that is a personal accomplishment because we've really proved ourselves worthy. We've built a relationship with these brands that now, like, we can just call and have a conversation with outside of work. And it's like, it's pretty amazing. And I think that's probably the biggest success as content creators, is when you build that relationship with brands. And that was like my biggest high. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is amazing. That just goes to show that when you build everything off of service and relationships, they're gonna want to come back over and over and over. And so,
which is amazing. Building that relationship, even like you said, being off, brand topics, that they're still go to and want to have a conversation and chat, and you've built that personal connection along with the business connection is just phenomenal. That's next level. That's amazing.
yeah, I love it. I think, and that's where I want everyone to be. We really try and tell everyone, go in with service and wanting to serve others and have a really good attitude, that if you just go in and be like, this is my media kit, this is how much I want to make. It's like, what brand is going to want to work with you? No, you go in with service. How can I help you? How can I service you? I think that's the biggest thing, because you feel like you're adding value, and you apply that not even just with content creating, and like everything that you do, whether it's just building friendships, how can you help someone else? Because that's going to come back 10 times. And I just think that if everyone had that type of mindset, this world would be such a much better place, for sure.
A mindset of servitude is a big difference versus a mindset of needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, stop being selfish.
Exactly. The whole purpose of this podcast is to inspire other people to live a life on their terms and completely out of the box. How would you inspire others to do what you're doing and just jump out there and just do it?
Man, you got good questions. How I would inspire others to do, to just step outside of that box. I think it comes to the realization that if you want to change something in your life, you have to just get yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And in order to do that, you have to grow and never stop learning. Don't put up blocks of, I can't do this because of, you having insecurities about things. You literally have to never stop learning, because you can always learn something, and you have to get yourself into an uncomfortable situation. That's just it. Because once you're uncomfortable, there's nowhere else to go but up. So
that's phenomenal. That is fantastic advice. Just push through and grow.
I mean, there's no other point to it. You literally have to just do it. And there's a lot of people who say, I've always wanted to do that. Stop saying you always, just go for it. You don't always necessarily need to have a plan and have everything laid out. Okay, this is what's going to happen. Sometimes you have to just go for it. And it is a hard situation to do, but you got to just do it. That's how I started. I didn't know anything. And I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to Google everything that I can. I had to teach myself how to do everything.
There really is no better place than the school of Google.
I'm telling you, YouTube University and Google, like, that's your key friends. Do it. You want to learn photography? Google YouTube University. Get to it. Like, don't put limits on yourself.
All right. So then what does the future look like? Is it building an empire? What are you going at?
Oh my gosh. Well, I personally never want to stop content creating, but I do want to come. Our goal right now is to work on passive income. We want to put in systems in place where we're no longer having to go out to constantly contract, and work all the time. We want steady passive income, which is where the real estate comes in place. So our goal this year is to create that for our family and for ourselves, so we can continue to be creative on our own terms and have that freedom to do so. Because I absolutely love content creating. You've actually inspired me to think about doing podcasts for content creating and share about other content creators and their journeys as well. So, I'm excited for you. Okay. I'm excited for this podcast and see how it develops. But I think, that's where we want to be. So
I've loved this conversation this entire time. This has been amazing. What a story and what a journey. I would love for all our listeners to be able to find you guys. So where can everybody find you?
Yes, so we are on obviously Instagram, and you can find us at We Are the Marcos. Just We Are the Marcos, Marcos. And then Jamie's account, if you guys are interested in real estate investing, he shares all about that on his personal account, which is its.jme.o2. He shares a lot about real estate investing and our little journey with that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate this time so much. And for everybody listening, I will have all the links and information on our website. So thank you so much for this conversation. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. If you're interested in these stories, please leave us a review, as it helps our podcast reach more listeners. For more information about this podcast, with show notes, links, and more, please go to our website, moresunsetsplease.com. While you're there, let's get connected. We post often on our Instagram and Facebook and share weekly updates through email. Make sure you join our email list. But we want to hear from you. If you know of someone with a great story, send an email to info@moresunsetsplease.com, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Until next time, keep taking time to enjoy more sunsets, please.